Hello, I'm back, or whatever the fuck. I don't know what's going on. But we're doing today a little podcast about transfers that's happened in the Prem. And I think the best way to do this is to basically go over the top 6 in this episode, and then I think I'll do another one tomorrow. I think I'll do another one later today, where we'll be talking about outside the top 6. Where that would be, of course, some people less care about that, but we will talk about the smaller clubs, the clubs who are striving to get into the top 6 and what they have done this summer. So, I think we should start from the champions and move our way down. So we'll start Liverpool. Liverpool have made one signing so far this summer. In that signing is, of course, Tiskamakis, whatever the hell you want to spell it. The Greek left back from Olympiacos. I've seen him play 4 times, twice against Arsenal and twice against Spurs. He never impressed. He was always actually probably one of their worst players on that pitch. But I'm going to trust what's that club? Liverpool. I'm going to trust Liverpool's judgment on signings. In general, they're actually really good at making these type of signings under Klopp, getting players who most people wouldn't expect to be that type of signing and turning them into better players. And maybe that's what we'll see. Maybe he won't have a great season this year, but then maybe the year after that he'll expand and really catch the eyes of everybody else. I think that would be the most interesting kind of part. I think we would have to see going to the next season from the likes of them. One thing I think that'd be really interesting to see how Liverpool do is if they strengthen any other position. They're clearly Thiago is on their list and they really want him. The problem is the price. Somehow Liverpool are broke more than Spurs. And more than a lot of clubs, actually. It's quite interesting because if you win trophies and get deep into competitions consistently, you earn a lot of extra money. And they haven't spent any situation in recently. And I don't understand it. The main reason I don't understand is they've seen what happened to Spurs. I know Spurs didn't win anything, but this is a very similar position to Spurs, where a manager and a system, they play in a way where it's high energy style, high pressing, and all these different attributes that is heavily, it's emotional based. And you have to improve your team. You have to bring in new blood. You have to bring in stuff to get that team to the next level, to keep that team at the top. Because overall, your team will just start dropping off and performing worse on a consistent basis. Of course, Liverpool have had 2 amazing seasons in a row, where they've had the 4th highest point total of all time and the 2nd highest point total of all time. They clearly have been playing at a higher level than anybody would expect from that team. And it's interesting to see how I don't think they're learning from the mistakes of their old competition in Spurs, because Spurs had this problem where they didn't sign anybody for 18 months. Then they had Lucas Moura and it went downhill. And but then of course people would bring up and say, well, Spurs by the end of it, they went out and spent 130 million last year to improve the squad. But the problem is it's too late. When you get to a point where the squad gets too stale, even if you throw a bunch of new blood in there, it's not gonna do enough to keep it up. And I think Liverpool actually have to. They have to make 2 more signings that are competitive in the squad, not just players who you bring in as just backups. Or I think they're fucked. I personally think they'll be fucked. I don't think it'll be next season. I think it'll be the year after that where we'll basically see that team just drop off so massively. Thiago, of course, would be one of these players that I think would fit perfectly in that type of mindset, allowing them to go on to the next level. Because I think he's actually an improvement on their 11, which is very difficult to do. Probably the best team in Europe. I'd probably still say the best team in Europe. Maybe not squad-wise, but just ability and stuff. I still think they're better than Bayern. I think Bayern are probably the 2nd best now. Maybe Bayern are 3rd. Maybe City are better. But they have Pep Guardiola as a manager, so they're shit. Yeah, that's Liverpool. I think Thiago will be a great signing for them if they can get that over the line. But it seems reliant on Wijnaldum going. I just don't understand how they're broke, where they can't spend 30 million on a player who will clearly improve them, and the manager clearly wants. I really find it idiotic. I find not only do I find it idiotic, I find it really stupid how that type of position is going, how that even is happening for these people. Yeah, I guess we move on to Manchester City now, because Liverpool, they're not doing a lot of business. It's hard to talk about a lot about them. But about Manchester City now. They defensively they looked really faulty last season. Of course, defensively their numbers are actually quite good, but that doesn't mean shit when you watch them and you know, holy shit, they look really easy to break through. And numbers of course can be misleading in a lot of aspects, and I think that's one of those type of situations where that is how that happened. I think in the signing of Koulibaly, which I think will happen, I think they will push forward and get it done. The signing of Nathan Ake will definitely be improvements on that back line. You now have, if Ake is your third choice center back, you're in a pretty good position. It's similar, again, I'll bring up Spurs because I'm a Spurs fan, I'll bring this consistently. He's not as good as Sanchez, but it's similar to the position where Spurs were last season, with Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen. You had two players who were very good, two amazing partnership. Then you have Sanchez as your third choice, and you're just like, whoa, shit, we have a great selection of center backs, and then you're set for a while. That's the position that I kind of view that club is in at the moment, and I fully expect that club to go on and do well. I think they will be better than they were last season. I still don't think they'll win the league, though. I think that Liverpool will win it, just because I think the loss of David Silva will actually be quite impactful. Losing that guy who's been in that dressing room for 10 years will be quite big, and I kind of think that a lot of this team, I think Pep is kind of running. I think his time's almost done at City. I don't think he can continue. Is exactly similar to Pep Guardiola, similar to Klopp and stuff, where you have these high energy systems. Because I don't think many managers can last a long period at a club, at a big club. I think at a smaller club it's a lot easier because you aren't playing as many games and the expectations aren't as big, and you can have a poorer season in a smaller club and your manager be like, well, yeah, as long as you don't get relegated and you stay in the top 15, we can give you this bad year and let you rebuild. You can't really see that with top 6 teams. They don't really allow that to happen. And yeah, I think this might be Pep's final season. The only way I don't think it would be is if the Messi definitely goes to City, and then I think Pep will stay. And I still don't. I mean, I think Pep will win the league then, but I think that's more on the basis of they have Messi, the best player one of the best players in the world, along with probably Ronaldo. Ronaldo's dropped off a bit, but I mean, Ronaldo will still do Ronaldo things. You have one of the best players in the world, you're going to probably win the league because he will just be such a massive difference in this amazing system of players. And yeah, I think that's the situation that we're probably going to see from Manchester City. I'm not trying to shit talk them and make people think that I don't think they're a good team. I think they're a very good team. But I just think that Pep Guardiola's time is coming to end very soon. But I can easily be proved wrong, and they go on to win the league. They go on to win the cups, even though for a squad of that ability, just win the cups isn't good enough. And that's the type of position that they're in. They're not Arsenal. They're not Spurs at the moment. They're not Chelsea shit. They're not United, where winning those cups is a big thing for them to do at the moment because they're so far off the top 2. Yeah, Manchester City's been doing that. Leroy Sané leaving, they lost their best winger. They're bringing Torres. They're losing a lot of aspects. Of course, Sané didn't play last season, but losing that option of having him maybe play is pretty big, I think. Torres, I think, is a talented player. I don't think he's anywhere near the level of Sané, or ever will be near the level of Sané. But yeah, I think it'd be a good signing for them. We'll see. Of course, Sané is also coming back from injury, so maybe they lucked out. Maybe Sané just will never reach his heights he did at City, before his injury, and that could easily be something. I wouldn't be stunned by that. Okay, so that's the top two. Let's go into Manchester United. Manchester United are, I think, one of the last three clubs that will have a lot of business to do. Manchester United so far have made one signing, and Donny van der Beek. I like this signing. I think it's a very good signing. One thing I find interesting is how the media has kind of made it seem like it's a bad signing because, he's not going to start for them. That makes zero fucking sense in my opinion. They need a depth. They need a depth in that position, and they've gone out and got a player who's clearly very good even as a depth player. He would start for a lot of clubs, and I really don't understand how the media seems. I mean, I guess I shouldn't look at them for stuff, but the media seems to always put pressure on, if you're going to make a signing, it has to be a starting 11 signing, or you have failed as a club and you aren't ambitious. Van der Beek as a backup is a very ambitious signing. You're bringing in a very quality player that starts for a majority of clubs in the Prem. I think the only clubs he probably wouldn't start for is Liverpool. He might even start for Liverpool, but that's because the midfield plays in a very different way, so probably not. Doesn't start for what the fuck is that team's called? He doesn't start for Chelsea. Doesn't start for. I don't think he starts for Spurs. I don't think he would start for what's his face? I'm forgetting someone. Who the fuck am I forgetting? Who's a clear well, whatever. But I think he starts for Arsenal, and yeah. But I think it's a very good quality signing. And yeah, it's what you want to see from your club. Bring in that type of depth, and it's a be similar conversation I think we're going to have. Actually, no, I don't think anybody else is bringing any quality like that. Let's talk about the outs. There doesn't seem to be any main players leaving the club this summer from them. It does seem to mainly be the players who will be likely to leave will be depth players or players that were out on loan. You have Alexis Sanchez that have left on basically a free, but getting off so many wages. Very good business from them in general. You also have the likes of what's his fake leaving. Chris Smalling leaving for $20 million. Good business for them. Player who would probably actually offer them something, but isn't needed when you have the likes of Tuanzebe that you want to give minutes to. Allow him to become a nailed starter. Allow him to be a star. To give him the opportunity to reach the level of his potential. That's what I think that club will basically be striving for him to be able to do. Up next, I don't think there's any more outs really. Romero might be leaving, but they have Henderson and David De Gea, so that's not even really an out that matters. Any other outs that I can think of that's likely? That's probably some that I'm just completely forgetting. Let's talk about the ins. The ins for Manchester City. Manchester United. Fucking hell. Manchester United. James Sancho is, of course, the number one target. I think they'll actually get this deal done. I think there's just so much pressure on them to get this deal done. When everything has been built around this thing, it feels like the Yuko Maguire. It feels like the Aaron Wan-Bissaka shit, where they really want this player. They don't want to pay the price. The other team's not changing the price, but by the end of the time, they will pay the price because, he's the perfect player that they want. And I think for Manchester United, they're in a position where they have clear position players on that pitch that they can easily improve on. They could use a DM that actually could play majority of games. They can do that. A right winger is definitely a position. Center back position they could definitely improve on. Mostly with the way that you see the way that club is kind of built upon. The way they talk about their players and stuff. I think they should get Jesus. I think Jesus is the perfect player for them, honestly. I think he's perfect in the aspect that I think that club needs a big signing. I think they need a signing that everybody around the world can kind of look and say, hey, that's fucking fantastic business. They can go on from here and maybe win something with that type of signing. And they need the right winger. They need a right winger, honestly. They haven't had a right winger for basically a decade that's actually good. And this is the player that could do that for them. That could take them back to take them to the next level. Well, we will see if they actually are able to do that. I fully expect them to do that. I think they will be able to. They're also looking for a center back. I don't see many targets. Paul Torres is a player that's athletic. Talking about Badalish, I think is his name, from Monaco. They got rejected bid, and I don't think United will go back in for him. I think that just was a 30 million bid they were trying and hoping it went over the line, which I don't think it will. It didn't go over, and I don't think they will go back in. And they're looking for a left back, which I think makes perfect sense. I think they could definitely use a left back. I don't think Luke Shaw is perfect, and I'm going to bring up Spurs here because Spurs is my club, and that's the easiest club to make comparisons to. Is I think it's a similar position as kind of like Ben Davies, where you could easily improve on him and stuff, and these players are important to your club. They're good. They're decent players. They're decent players, not players who you would expect to be starting at top 6 teams based off their ability levels. The thing I do think difference is Ben Davies is a system player, and Luke Shaw probably is a system player, but not as much as the likes of Davies, who legit his best ability is playing in the system. Let's talk about the next kind of. Any other players I think they're going to sign? I think they will consider signing Josh King. I think they're looking for a striker. I think they would sign a striker if they could. I don't think it'll end up happening. I think they have so many other kind of positions they would want to sign instead, and that striker will be pushed so far back. Okay, let's move on past United. What I think we will basically see from Manchester, from the next club, is Chelsea. Chelsea have kind of, from Romano has kind of guaranteed that Mendy from Rennes will be signing. I think he's a very solid keeper. I think the biggest problem with him probably end up being is that I don't really think there's many problems. I think he'll just be a solid keeper. We won't be a top 6 keeper, but I think he's more of a stopgap. I don't think they're signing him for, hey, for the next 4 or 5 years, you're a right back, you're a striker. I think they're signing him, and I think basically the competition point with him was, hey, do you want to be Chelsea's starting goalkeeper? And if you do impress us a lot, you will lock down this position. That's if he impresses, in which I think with the way Chelsea are spending, I think they'll probably go in next summer for Donnarumma. I think they'll offer a big contract to him, his 1 year finished contract, and I expect there'll be a big battle between him for Donnarumma between a lot of clubs, and I hope Spurs are in that battle. I think we will be because he's on a free transfer, but maybe I think other clubs offer him more money and he just won't join us. But yeah, I think Donnarumma. I think this is a stopgap for Donnarumma next season, which I think it'd be a good deal for them. So let's go through all of their signings. I think they're done. I think they will want to make the Rice signing, but I think West Ham will just ask for too much money. The only way I see that happening is if Conte goes. If Conte goes, in which case, but then that doesn't even make sense because they're signing Rice as a center back. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just too much money, and I don't think they want to spend 300 million this summer, which is probably what they would have to pay to get the likes. Not 300 million for Rice, but like around 80, 100 million for Rice, because I don't think West Ham want to sign. I'm not saying that's what he's worth. I'm just saying that's what the club value him at, and I don't see them going for cheaper. So the conversation point about Chelsea, their signings, is they have made a lot of signings, and we all know when you make a lot of signings, there comes high expectations. Their expectations now is to win the league. It's the title challenge. It's spending over 200 million this summer. It has to be. If your expectations is not the title challenge, then you're just a dumb club and making bad decisions. And which maybe that's actually pretty likely with the likes of Chelsea. So their new record signing is of course Kai Havertz. Very good player. I think it took a while for him to adapt. I think he's a very talented player. He will probably end up being one of the better players in the league at some point. But I don't think he'll come in and be that. I think he'll come in and we'll see a player who will take a while to reach his full potential because he's still a very young player. And this is a signing where I think in general, from his ability levels, he's probably worth around 50, 60 million. Like, he's worth quite a lot ability-wise, but they're spending that extra 80, 40 million on that potential that he could be the best player in the world, be one of those players, be up there with Mbappe and stuff. I don't think it will end up being at that level, but he could easily end up. He could, if they build a system with him and he develops correctly, because he has a lot of his naturally. You're not to be at the elite level. Your natural physique is very important, and he has that with him. He's tall, he's fast, he has all the attributes that you look for in a player. I expect him to end up being a very good signing, but I expect him by the end of the summer people to be saying he's underperformed based off his price tag, which I hate people using price tags on players to rate their performances, because I think it's dumb to rate a player based on what someone paid for them, because it's not like they chose that price. It's just because they were that good that people now have to pay that. It's not like, hey, I want to cost this much money. It's more, hey, what do you... Yeah, you understand what I mean. I think we'll see... next up, the signing, we'll talk about Timo Werner. I'm not a huge... I'm a fan of the signing to an extent. I'm not the fan of the way they think they'll use him. I think he's way better fit for Liverpool with the way that they play and stuff, with their striker not really being your normal striker, with them guy dropping deeper and building more build-up play, coming off the left, coming off the right, being more of a build-up guy. I think Timo Werner will do a better job in that way, because he's not your normal striker. He's not a guy who you look at and say, yeah, he'll play as your lone striker. He's never played as a lone striker successfully. Not on a consistent basis. He might have a couple games here and there, but he mainly plays in a front two, and that's definitely not what you're going to be seeing from. I don't think Chelsea would. I can't see them playing a top two with the players that they've signed. They've signed Kai Havertz, who probably is better playing in kind of like that 10 position, and it's a signing. And they've signed Ziyech. They have Pulisic. They kind of have to play, I think, with a 4-2-3-1 to get the best, or you have to drop one of those players into the midfield, because they have to try to fit all these players. Maybe not fit all of them, but fit a lot of them in, because you can't have 5 great players, attacking players on the bench. You just can't. Like, not even City have that. City don't even have that kind of problem. And they're going to guarantee you a title race. They guarantee you a title race. They guarantee you a couple trophies. Chelsea can't guarantee you shit. They can guarantee you top 4 probably with the money they spend. Even then, I don't even think they're guaranteed for top 4. I think that people would put them there. I guess I should talk more about. I guess I'll talk more about why I don't think Chelsea will be in that position after I go through all the signings. I think Chelsea the most interesting case of the summer of what they've done, because I'm not a fan of all the business they've done. I think they've done good in signing quality players, but I think the biggest problem is something that it's something that should be expected. I think everybody kind of knows this is something that goes on, and that it's not going to be like, oh, crazy, how did this happen? But we'll get on to it. Timo Werner, I think he will probably end up being a flop. I think he's the most likely of all the Chelsea signings to be a flop. I don't think he'll be good in the front by himself. Now, if they play in a way where Tim Abraham and him play up top together, I think it'd be very successful. I think that's basically what you will have to see. Or if they put him on the wing and make him a winger, in which case then you drop Pulisic, in which case, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, it's an interesting one in my opinion, seeing how that evolves. I think will be very interesting overall. Next up, we'll talk about who was the next signing? Ziyech. Yeah, Ziyech's a good player. He's scored against Spurs and stuff, but I do think there's one aspect of him that I think Chelsea fans will dislike, and I think a lot of fans will try to use the shit on players, which I find retarded. They use this against Bruno, because I think he's very similar to Bruno. I'm not saying ability. Actually, it could be same ability wise. I don't know if we get the same like goals and assists as fucking Bruno does, but I think ability wise, I think they're actually pretty similar level. Ziyech is a black hole. You give him the ball, you're not getting it back. He's either creating an opportunity off of that ball or taking a shot. 90% of the time, he's going to be someone that you will not see that ball come back from. Now that's a good thing and a bad. That's a good thing. That is a good thing because he gives you a very creative player. It's a bad thing when he's having a bad day. What game was it against? Ajax played. Was it Leo? I think it was the other team in the group stage this season. Who they played against? They played against them, and he lost the ball I think 40 times. He has that problem. He will lose you the ball, but he also will have moments of brilliance. He'll create a great, amazing highlight reel. I think he'll be a good player for them. I think he'll be a very good player for them. I think he's a good signing. Up next, the only other first-team signing that they've made is Thiago Silva. Of course, they signed Sarr, but Sarr went on loan, so legit doesn't matter. Thiago Silva. I don't think this guy will be successful. I know he's old. The main reason why he's old and he's coming from Liga, and Liga just seems to be this curse on it where a majority of players coming from the league flop. They just flop. They just have bad seasons. The first season is bad. That is in general what it feels like when I look at these signings. For all the players that sign for them, in general, they are bad that first season, or they're very poor, and then they might show up the next season, and that's kind of the situation. And I don't think Silva has that in him. I think basically Silva will flop this season. If the next season he will be this guy who looks better, but he's 36 and he won't play every game because, well, he's 36 and his body can't handle playing the Premier League week in, week out. I don't think he'll be able to do it this season anyway. He's a good depth player, and he'll be able to mentor players, and that's probably the best benefit they get from this, is he'll be able to mentor the likes of, well, I would have said Tomori, but they're sending him out on loan, so I legit don't get why. I don't like this signing, I'd be honest. So now let's talk about Chelsea just in general. They're not doing any more business, I think, finally. I think their attack will be good. Their attack was already good, but with just bad players. Now their attack will be good with good players, so it'll be really exciting. The midfield's always going to be good if Conte and Kovacic. If Conte continues being injured a lot, you then have a question mark of how you set up your midfield. Jorginho, Kovacic, not good. Ruben Loftus-Cheek maybe, but you don't really have that great defensive player. So I'm probably missing someone in the team that could do that. Look at that. I think the main... Oh yeah, they signed Ben Chilwell. I completely forgot about Ben Chilwell. I think this signing is solid. I think they probably overpaid, but he's going to be there for a long time. Like, it's not even that bad. If you're signing a player that will end up being at your club for like 10 years, it's not a bad signing to do that. I think we'll probably end up seeing him. I think by the time he leaves, he'll end up being viewed as a bargain because of how many games he's played, and less of how good he's been. You get me? I don't think he listens to all Leicester fans. His biggest problem with him is defensively. Is that he's not great. And kind of what I think you kind of understand what I'm going to getting at here is defensively they were the worst team in the top 10 last season. They conceded the most goals in the top 10. Now does that mean that they're the worst group of players defensively in the top 10? No. Arsenal have a worse group of players in the top 10 defensively. Actually, I don't know. Actually, never mind. Arsenal actually have a decent goalkeeper. They have a decent goalkeeper, and they got Tierney. So I think maybe they're equal there. But yeah, Chelsea have a really poor defense, and I don't think they've really improved it. I think Chilwell is an improvement. I think he's better going forward than. I think he's better going forward in the back four than Alonso. He's better going forward than Emerson. He's better than Azpilicueta, who dropped off last season. And all Chelsea fans will agree with that he had a poor season. I think that's one aspect that I kind of... Like, they signed a left back that's better. He'll improve their certain left back, 100%. They signed a center back who's old, who... The physicality of the Prem might just be too much for him. I think he'd probably end up being injury prone. I think he might be good when he plays and just be injury prone a lot and just maybe play 10, 15 games this season for them in the league. Yeah, that's a big improvement based off what they've had, but it's not a consistent improvement. And then they've improved their goalkeeper. they've improved it by quite a bit, but he's not a top 6 goalkeeper. He's probably a mid-table level goalkeeper, Mendy. He's not a goalkeeper you're going to be beating your dick off to. He's coming from Liga as well, so if I can find out if the goalkeepers are good. I hope they are, because I really like Megan from Lille, and I would really like to sign him. I really like to sign him, and I'd like to hopefully see Mendy translate well into the Prem, and maybe that can kind of show me if maybe that means he'll be good too. He probably won't be, but hopefully. I think what we'll kind of end up seeing over the next. I think it's difficult, and then the right back position is not even great. Like, Reece James is a great talent, but that's what he is. He's a talent. He's not a star. He's not someone who you want to consistently rely on. He hasn't shown anything over a consistent basis over an entire season to be a consistent performer. Azpilicueta can be that, but Azpilicueta's coming off a poor season based off what their fans have said. I'm not going off what I've seen. I'm going off what their fans said. I don't think he looked good even from what I've seen anyway, but just trying to point out, like, there is this position where I think they're not in the best type of area, where I think they're in is big. I think they've done bad business. I don't think they've done bad business. I think they've done incorrect business, is the correct term. I think they've improved the wrong areas of the pitch. If they instead of getting Timo Werner, instead of getting Kai Havertz, they spent that money on Upamecano, and they went and got Donnarumma, I would probably say, yeah, that defense is fucking good, and they're definitely going to be a team that I could think can actually maybe title challenge at some point in the upcoming seasons. I don't see them title challenging in the upcoming seasons, unless they go out and spend big on the defense. And I think this is kind of my biggest problem with what the business they've done is. It's very much a let's improve the attack and hope maybe we'll get to a point where we can improve other positions. I really dislike what they've done. I don't like the business that they've done. In that aspect, I think it's fantastic business when it comes to. I think it's fantastic business when it comes to the likes of just signing a player who. Just signing a player. Signing a player who I think will end up being quality. I think they've signed good players. I don't think they've signed the players that will improve them the most. You get what I mean? Like, the same criticism I see when people criticize United for playing their big signing. They don't criticize Chelsea for not signing defenders. They've signed defenders, but they're not big improvements. Like, they've signed great quality players in the attack, but their attack was performed decently last season. It's not the position of the pitch where they need to spend the most to improve, but that's what they've done. Like, their attack is going to be way better this season, 100%. Like, no question. They're going to score more goals. They're going to look more dangerous. But I think the biggest also, they're going to have to gel. Their attack is completely new. Their best 11 in attack. None of them have played together on a consistent basis. Maybe Kai Havertz and Werner as kids, all for the youth teams, but that's it. They haven't played consistently at this type of level. Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty difficult thing to kind of. I don't think anybody can actually praise their business. I think they've. I mean, you can because they've signed quality players. I mean, I can't. I'm just going over myself, but if you just very much disagree with me, comment and tell me why in Discord. Tell me why you disagree with my thoughts on what they've done, because I'm just not. I think they might finish 5th. Honestly, it matters how United sign players and what Spurs do. But I can easily see them finishing 5th. I think Lampard will be sacked. Like, if Lampard's the one that decided I want to sign these attacking players over defenders, then yes, it's his fault. But I don't know if he did. I mean, I don't think he's that stupid. I think he's a very smart man. I think he would have signed other positions. But I think it's enough on Chelsea. Chelsea, of course, in the big section because, well, fuck me, they've signed a lot of players. So let's get into Spurs. This is my club. So this section will be longer because I know what's going on. Spurs have signed 3 players. We'll start with the cheapest one, Joe Hart. Free transfer, third choice goalkeeper probably. I don't think Gaza will leave. I think Gaza will end up staying. I just think everybody else, I think the clubs that want him have signed more players, have signed players already, or will be signing players very soon. I think it'll end up being a very interesting position for those clubs. For Joe Hart. Joe Hart, I mean, he's not half the money Vorm was on. Like, I see nothing wrong with this deal. People will if he comes our backup goalkeeper, I'd have some criticisms, but at the same time, I wouldn't a ton because he's free. It's free transfer. Like, I'm not going to shit on a free transfer as a backup. That's the difference between him and Thiago Silva is. This guy will only play cup games and Europa League games, and if Lloris gets injured again, then he'll play some games. Which we hope not. Hopefully Lloris had that fully healed himself and won't be injury prone, as he's kind of been as of recent years. Sadly. Yeah. So talking, next signing we'll talk about the next cheapest signing that Spurs have made will be Matt Doherty. That deal is apparently £13 million. I think £13 million. No add-ons. Fucking amazing business. He's such an improvement on Aurier. I think it's a standing business. I think he's the 5th best right back in the league. Now, is that the ambitions that your club should be wanting to do? Is get the stuff 5th best right back? No, you would want to see your club go and get better, get players who are higher on that spectrum. But for the price, I don't think you get better. I don't think you get better for that price unless you go out and take a risk on some young player and he ends up reaching his potential at some point. I don't think you get a better player who will improve your starting 11 right now for that price. That's my opinion. I don't think you do that. And I think basically what we've seen is the club gone out there, sign that player, and it's fantastic business. He's not a long-term signing, which is fine, which I think is what we'll basically see from Spurs this summer, is players who will fit the Jose system. And this is the Jose signing, and this is the biggest talking point going into the summer was who will win the battle, Levy or Jose. And it feels like it's a mixture. Levy gets his bargains, but they're signing players for the Jose system. They're not just signing young talents to sign young talents, because I'm actually very much against the mindset of you have to get young talent and always be the super ambitious aspect where you have to sign players who will walk into your 11 and who might one day be one of the best in the world. Just get a player who will walk into your 11 right now and just make you better this game. He will make you better this game. And that's basically what that's what Doherty done. That's what Højbjerg would do. They walk into your 11 and massively improve in those your two weakest positions. I think Spurs and Chelsea are probably the two teams that have improved the most since last season. Just because their signings, I think, are the best. I think they're the best considering the positions that they needed. I mean, maybe not Chelsea, but I think Spurs have done fantastically in this mindset of they've signed the players, two positions. I think there's 3 positions going this summer that they absolutely needed. They needed their left back. They need a right back. They need DM. They need a striker. Striker's not done yet, but I expect the striker to be in by the end of the summer. But not in the summer. By end of, I think in next week, we'll probably have a striker. I said that last week as well. Everything kind of seems to be pushing that a striker's coming in soon. I kind of hope it happens quicker, but maybe it won't. Maybe I'm too ambitious and I have too much trust in Levy. But we'll see. Striker will probably end up, and I think we'll get a good striker too. I don't think we're getting some really shit striker. I'll get on to that in a minute about the signing we'll be making. I guess I didn't talk about United in that aspect, the signings they'll be making. I guess I didn't talk about left back. But yeah, I think Reguilon will be fine for them. I guess we'll get on to Reguilon for Spurs, I guess, because he is linked to Spurs, which I don't think it's happening. I don't want it to happen. I mean, I don't think he'll start for us anyway. I mean, I think he's better than what we have, but I don't think that's why. I don't think it's good enough to start for Jose. I think you have to fit the system, and I don't think he fits the system. What was I? I think it's actually with Højbjerg. We needed a DM, cheap, 15 million. It basically 3 million plus Kyle Walker-Peters, and that's a bargain. Kyle Walker-Peters wasn't even a player Jose used, and even Poch didn't trust him. Poch put Davidson Sanchez at right back ahead of him. Like, fuck me. That's how bad the club's people rated him. I think it's good. I think I don't want to be like, I don't want to like tickle the balls of Levy too much, but like the business, if you just look at like the price you've paid for players and the level of player you're getting, and they're Premier League proven players, and how they're going to immediately improve your 11, I don't think you get much better than what Spurs have done. I don't think any club has done the level that these have done. I think it'd be interesting. I like Højbjerg signing as well. I think it's good. He's a good leader. I think he's a leader. I mean, all three of them won trophies. I think Doctor's won trophies somewhere. I don't know where, but he's got trophies. Because I saw some tweet where saying all three guys have won trophies. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I think it's all three are fine signings. They're all signings that are good. They all will improve your, except I guess Jordan doesn't improve your, but those two improve your 11. So now let's talk about what Spurs' rest of the summer will look like. Spurs will make 3 more signings this summer. 3 more signings 100%. I think two positions 100%. And I think one position could be one of two positions, or maybe even another guy. Well, I'll bring it up. So I think the number one position we're looking at right now is striker. I think we're close. But as Spurs do business, a lot of the stuff isn't out there. A lot of the stuff is just guessing and what you kind of hope will end up happening. And I'll bring up the names that we kind of want to talk about with the type of sign I'm making. Spurs want a striker. They want a player that's able to play with Kane and lead the line without Kane, and be a guy who's willing to sit on the bench to some extent, but play a bunch of games still. Like he'll probably still get 6-7 Premier League starts. Might get 10 Premier League starts if he works in a system alongside Kane. If that player is able to do that, you will have that type of position. You're also looking for a striker who you can allow Kane the rest and you're confident. So the players are linked. I'll go for the players who I think are most likely. Milik, I think, is the most likely. This one I thought was kind of dead, but then he was waiting for Juventus. But Juventus are clearly going after other strikers instead, and guess what? That's good. That means Milik is open to coming to Spurs. His problem would be his wages. He's on 150k a week right now. And at the moment, I think that would put him up as Spurs' 4th or 5th highest paid. I think Dele, Kane, and Dembele will all be higher. Maybe I think Son could be. I think Son's in the 120 mark though. I think he'll be this target signing. The wages would be a big problem, and I think we have another target signing. And this one has actually came up pretty much in the last couple hours. It's Edouard from Celtic. I'm doing it right now. Edouard is the other striker I think we're looking at the moment. He's a weird one because I like him to an extent. He's young, he's talented, but the problem will be his price. 40 million is what they want, and I don't think they view him as 40 million. But the reason why 40 million is a price tag is because of PSG. He'd have a sell-on clause. I think they get 50%, and I think basically Celtic want 20 million. But Spurs could do what they did with Lo Celso in this aspect, where they pay a fee up front and then they pay another fee. I don't know how that works, but they got through him. They got through it, and I think out of the 44 million, out of the 43 million they spent on Lo Celso, PSG only got like 11 instead of like the 20 they would have got if they paid up front. And so it works out that way. I think we might see a deal like that. I think Edouard would be good. I think Edouard. The problem is Celtics in the Europa League, Spurs Europa League. That deal needs to be done quickly. And yeah, I think I think they're both likely. I think they're both the number 1 and number 2 signings. I think Edward might show up because I will point this out. I'm going by stuff from top tier in the know people who get stuff consistently right, and I know this is not something people want to hear me say because this is dumb to lean on, but I'm going to say it because I think it's actually the striker we've had in mind. It's Edouard, and that there's no links outside really, and that's because Spurs do quiet business. There was no links of Doherty until the day before, and the only reason why they came out was because Gold got told by the club, hey, you can post this because we've agreed a deal, because we've started negotiations to do this quickly, because Gold is a mouthpiece for the club, and that's how Doherty came out. I think it's be similar to Edouard. I think Edouard will be the signing we'll make, which will be really piss off Arsenal fans on Twitter because they fucking adore him. I mean, it'll be a good signing. Other players who I think are definitely on our radar is Diallo from Metz. I like him a lot. Maybe not a lot. I think it's a good signing. For the price we'll pay for him, about $50 million, good signing. It'd be similar to Højbjerg and stuff, where just a guy who fit the system, be a big target. He's a captain as well. Good player. I think I'm just bouncing around too much. I'm going to stop for a second and basically say Edouard and Milik are our top 2 priority strikers at the moment. Milik is the one that people know about, that's out in the public and links are there. Edouard is the in-the-know guys have all kind of come to an agreement and say Spurs are working on this deal and they're pretty confident this might happen, but the price might be too much, and so they might go for Milik. Which I mean, I'll be real actually. If you look at the situation, is Edouard will probably end up being He'll end up being $40 million, but his wages would probably end up being around $80K, $90K. Milik would be $30 million, end up being $150K. Over a long period, Edouard would be cheaper. It'd be more upfront, but I think that's you'll be fine with that. I personally think they'd be fine with that. And yeah, I think Edouard might happen. I don't want to be this guy that's relying in the nose, but it kind of came out of fucking nowhere, because all these links last week people were saying, oh, the deal is really close and stuff, and no one knew what the fuck was going on with who. People thought it was Ollie Watkins, and people said, well, it's not Ollie Watkins. People thought it was Diallo, but then people have said, well, that's a smokescreen, actually, it's not Diallo, and no one's really said. And then out of nowhere today, everything came out and said, it's Edouard, we're working on this right now, and this is expected to probably happen before next Thursday. I'm expecting to get laughed at and stuff, but I think that's a deal that might happen. Milik is the other guy. I think he's the more consistent option, the better option, but he's injury prone. He has injury prone problem, and his wages. That is the 2 problems with him. Edward's only problem is his starting price. His wages are fine. His ability is fine. Every aspect of him is good. He has not proved it at the top 5 league though, but based off the signing of Dembele has done at Lyon, who's been very good, the signing of Tierney at Arsenal, these players from Celtic are performing well outside of Celtic, the better players from Celtic. So I think you can look at that and say, you know what, I actually can kind of trust these signings now. I think these will be good signings for the club if they go out and get these players. That is just me, in my opinion. Diallo is an option, and I think that's kind of it. I don't really think anybody else I'd actually really bring up. I'll bring up Jimenez. I don't think that's actually an option. I think there could be a conversation down the line of him end up coming, because I think Mendes is his agent, and I think Mendes will want to give Spurs a big player, so we have to buy Jason Fernandez on a permanent. I actually think that's a position for him at the moment. I think it's less that I think it's less that Wolves want to do that, but I think Wolves are under Mendes' control. Whenever Mendes wants to happen, Mendes will get done. That's the straight position. Spurs are also looking at center back. I think there's only 3 players we've looked at that I know of. Kim Min-jae from China. I have not seen him really. I think I watched like 10 minutes of him when I watched Beijing. The league is so boring I had to turn it off. Whatever. He's $15 million. It would be nice to know that our scouts have gone out there and find someone that's not a big name, found someone that people don't really know about, and I think that's actually something that's really nice to see from people, from your club, is going out there and getting these signings that, hey, I didn't expect my club to go get this signing. I really like how my club is not just following the norm and trying to fit in, and they're going out there and trying to be special, trying to be different. At least that's my opinion. I might be the minority there, but that's what I like to see. Then you have Kumbella from Verona. He plays in the 3 at the back. His underlying numbers are absolutely fucking elite for, not even for his age. Maybe his heading numbers are elite. They're already kind of up there with, they're a little bit over Sivadike, but he's 20 years old. And yeah, the heading accuracy is very bad usually for young players, even if they're really tall. It's really weird. Like, you wouldn't expect that, but he is. But he's elite in that aspect, that he'll probably end up being an elite center back. Problem is, they want 30 million, which I don't think is the problem. I think the problem is he might think that Inter Milan, AC Milan are both in for him. He might think those are better options. Lazio are also in for Kim and Jay. I also want to point that out. So it's a battle between us and those signs might go. Then there's Skriniar, who's the most expensive option. I don't think that's likely. I think it just costs too much money. I don't think Ndembele is leaving as well. So I think he'll end up staying. And I don't see us signing Skriniar based off the fact they want 50 million. So I don't think that's happening. And then we want a winger. I think Leon Bailey is our number one choice. I don't think we'll get Leon Bailey. Actually, I think we will get Leon Bailey if the price is right, and they want Aurier. If they're willing to do actual business, and Aurier plus maybe 20 million, I think that deal will get done. I think that's how that system would go. But I think we'll see 3 more signings from Spurs, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the overall business works for the club. That's Spurs in a nutshell. Aurier is probably leaving. Foyth's probably leaving. Rose is close to going to Genoa. Gaza might leave if a good bid comes in for him and he actually wants to leave, which I think he would like to stay because I think he's a big fan of just being in that dressing room, and I think he probably thinks this is a chance that I can maybe win a trophy. Not as a starter, but he can win a trophy at the FA Cup or something. That is Spurs. We're going to the final piece of today's podcast. I'll be doing another podcast later today about the non-top 6 clubs. It'll be a little bit shorter because there's not as much that I like to touch on and or care about really. Mainly just Everton and Newcastle and stuff. I might throw my Premier League predictions in that as well. Just kind of talk about signings in Premier League. Oh my god. I think the one area of the pitch, they have signed Gabriel and they've signed Willian so far. It's not. I don't like the Gabriel. I watched Leo a lot last season, so I think I actually have a decent opinion on him, and not just like, I watched some highlights. I know everything about him. He's a good goalkeeper. He's a good he's a good goalkeeper. He's a good center back. He's nothing special. He could end up being a great goalkeeper, good center back. What the fuck am I talking about? He could end up being a great player, but I don't think he will be. He's going to a back line that's really shit. Saliba's he's another League A player, and this is kind of my point. League A players just don't perform. They just haven't performed in the Prem right away. They usually need a season to get to that level to perform, if that. And yeah, I think he'll struggle. I think he'll basically look at him and saying, "Oh, well, we could do better." I think I don't think he'll reach the level of the heights that the expectations would be on him. Up next, Willian. I think this deal's awful. I think this deal's actually awful. I think he's on 150K a week. 3-year deal. He's 32. And he shows up for a couple games a season, and that's how he gets his highlight reel. Chelsea fans didn't like him. They didn't like him even years ago. Like, I think Arsenal fans need to like realize that they didn't just turn on him last year. They've been turning on him basically for the last 3 or 4 years. That they just didn't like him. And yeah, it's not a good thing to see that a rival say, "I'm happy he's gone." And I think they actually mean it's not just like them crying, like that stupid Reddit thing, where the guy's fake crying, and not fake crying, but like the guy's crying and shit. It's not that type of a situation. I think that it'd be a serious signing, I think, from the club to get these players, to get him. And now they're basically looking on to make 2 more signings this summer. Those 2 signings are Thomas Partey and Houssam Aouar from Lyon. Another Liga player. You're kind of seeing a trend here that my opinions of players, I don't really like to see players sign for Liga because I think it's just too risky. And from what recently we've seen from these players in the Prem, I think you should be looking elsewhere for signings. He could be a very good player, but Dembele was a great talent. Dembele had Juventus on his heels. PSG, they both were in the same. They both bid 60 million for Dembele, but Dembele happened to choose us, and he didn't perform last season. Of course, there's a lot of aspects and circumstances that are in that mindset, but I think at the moment that I don't think it'll be a good deal for the clubs to make these. To go for that player. Thomas Partey I think would be a better signing for them. He'll walk in and he'll end up being what, the best DM, the second best DM after Conte, probably the best like defensive minded midfielder. He's not like an actual number 6 type of player, but probably the best second best defensive midfielder in the Prem then. And yeah, that's probably what they should be aiming for, getting that midfield improving. The midfield is absolutely dreadful. Yeah, I think they'll get one of them. I think they'll probably get Husamario. I don't think they'll get Thomas Partey. I think his wages. I think the wages will just be too much for them. Mostly to the fact that they're giving Aubameyang a $400,000 contract that guys got on today. Like, fuck off. Like, they don't have the funds just to give everybody for 3 years. I mean, we'll see. Alba probably end up being a legend to Arsenal, being their best player in their worst period and the amount of goals he scored, keeping them actually competitive or even the top half of the table. Surprising enough. That's the end of this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Come back later today and I post it. Yeah. See ya.